and of course, Come and Get It. Phenomenal record. It has all the great songs. Girl, Hit and Run, Till the Day I Die. Not a bad song on the whole record, man. Come and Get It. Hot, Don't Break My Heart Again. That's a timeless banger. Lonely Days, Lonely Nights. A great song. Winding Minute song, man. Child of Babylon. Would I Lie to You? Same. I mean, typical Coverdale words. If you don't like words on a level of a 4 years old, or let's just say a 15 years old horny kid, then I guess Whitesnake is not for you. But again, every band has a couple of them. The thing is with Whitesnake that they were all like that. All of the songs was on one topic, single topic, kind of like Kiss, right? But at least he was able to mask it and make it a little bit more humorous. After the Dio era in Rainbow, when Ronnie famously goes on to join Black Sabbath and completely revolutionize that band, Richie keeps going into the direction that he started taking with Long Live Rock and Roll, and he's joined by Graham Bonnet from Alcatraz. Great singer, great guy. Actually, one of the dudes that on a personal level I like very much in rock and roll. Very relatable, very down to earth, as the name of this record implies. But in my opinion, it doesn't really belong in Rainbow. I never liked his voice with Rich's guitar. In Alcatraz and other things he did, I'm much more accepting of it. And the whole direction, this, I would say, two hands down, is my least favorite Rainbow record. As good as it is, it's not a bad record, but you expect more, you expect better from Rainbow. A little too hard rocky-ish, commercial hard rocky-ish produced, and a nice record though, but it kind of lost the charm that Rainbow had in the beginning. There was a very unique combination. Blackmore and Dio, I think it's like there's no better combination in rock and roll. I think a guitar player and singer, and especially with Cozy on the drums, that was truly magic. That's like bread and butter with garlic, right? You can't go wrong with that. No Time to Lose, that's a very good one. Making Love is a great one. Since You've Been Gone, I'm not a huge fan. I like The Danger Zone, Love's No Friend of Mine. So when you put it on, you always realize that it's not as bad as you'd expect. So that's the bane of good records that don't reach the levels of their predecessors or the best ones in that band. So it can always judged against the best of the band, and fair or not, that's the situation. And so I think a lot of people will agree with me that Down to Earth is the worst record, and we're still pre-84, right? 81, same time as Don't Break My Heart Again, releases this, Difficult to Cure. That's another one that Rainbow fans love to hate. This is when Richie Blackmore pulled all the stops and he says, I don't care, I'm going pop, commercial, hard rock, all the way. And yet, there's no question in my mind that this record is better than Down to Earth, despite not having Cozy, unfortunately. It's sorely missed, but they did very well with the drummer that they had on this record. I would say most of this record is very good to excellent. They have no release magic. Maybe next time. Rearranged Beethoven 9, which was a pretty cool thing to pull off. All the songs, Difficult to Cure, that's Beethoven 9, that's the same one. Midtown Tunnel, the Freedom Fighter, Can Happen Here. Magic's not bad at all. Spotlight Kid is good. I Surrender is the hit from the record and the opener. So good solid record. And maybe my second favorite from this era with Jolin Turner. Jolin Turner, I think he's a better singer than most give him credit for, and his stupid, crappy, and condescending and arrogant personality probably has something to do with that. Like whenever you hear him in all interviews, whenever he talks, he just brags that he this and he that and he created the world. I mean, at least Blackmore pretends to be humble sometimes when he can. But Jolin Turner, man, that guy just, you see 2 minutes of an interview with him, it turns you off, at least me. Anyway, Straight Between the Eyes, released in '82, and I apologize for Gillan fans, but I never really followed Gillan's career. So I had a couple records which were not bad. I forgot even what they were called. They had one with John McCoy and one, I think, with Bernie Torme. And just about these kind of years, 79, 80, 81, they were not bad, but I was not a big fan. I never liked Gillan as a person, and his voice to me was only good on his best moments with Deep Purple. So with Blackmore, with the music of Deep Purple that congealed, that was very, very good. Whenever I hear Gillan do something else, it doesn't really resonate with me. One exception might be Born Again, upon which we will touch. But anyway, back to Straight Between the Eyes. Many people consider this the best of the latter Rainbow period, of at least those with Jolin Turner. They're difficult to rank, kind of. They all have their good and bad points, their benefits and their deficits or disadvantages. I would say that musically they're the tightest on this record. From a purely professional musical perspective, the songs are very hard rocking, so if someone picks this, they are rightfully justifiable. I think that this record picks up pretty much from Kill the King, from Long Live Rock and Roll. So I think that Blackmore wanted a little bit less obviously commercial record, maybe more of like a Long Live Rock and Roll, just without Dio. Completely different band. By the way, you got Ronnie Lally on drums, Glover on bass, who came in '79, right after Long Live Rock and Roll, when they did Down to Earth. Glover joined Blackmore, and people could already sense a reunion in the air. Rosenthal on keyboards. He's not so well known in the world of rock, but in the world of pop, he's a big, not just a musician per se, but music, maybe not a business executive, but a producer, an advisor. So he had a lot of ventures in the pop, in the higher end pop world. Very good keyboard player. Of course, he has the big famous intro to what is the name of that song again? I think it was on the next one. Can't Let You Go. But he has a couple good intros on this one also. Miss Mistreated is a great song. Death Alley Driver, the opener, is like a very, very hard rocker. Stone Cold is kind of like a ballad. I think that Jolin Turner, in his arrogance, thought that he's Dio. But Stone Cold, I think, would be great with Dio on vocal. Bring on the Night, not bad at all, kind of like a commercial ballad. Tight Squeeze is kind of also one of these faster rockers. And then you got Tearing Out My Heart, another kind of emotional sort of songs, and Power, hard rocker, along with Rock Fever and Eyes on Fire, another kind of sentimental song. So not bad at all. Musically, they're on the tightest and the best professionally on this record. And then my personal favorite from this era, from this time, is this one. It might surprise you because this is the cheesiest and commercialized, two hands down, no questions here. It's even more commercial and cheesy and trying to be trendy even more than down to earth. Nonetheless, the record itself and the songs are written and maybe even executed pretty much the best. You have the fire dance, very good. I think on this record, Turner quit pretending that he's somebody else, and they have not the same lineup, but very similar. They have a different drummer here, Chuck Berge. But other than that, it's the same lineup. And Blackmore apparently refused to tone down the commercialness, but he beefed up let's just say, the quality of everything. His guitar, his songwriting. So I think that all of the songs here are very good. They probably, even those who are big fans of this and the proponents of this record, and would tell you that this is the keeper from this era and difficult to cure and bent out of shape, have to be thrown away. I think that they would also agree that the song writing and structure is better on Bent Out of Shape. You got Drinking with the Devil, you got Snowman, phenomenal, one of these instrumentals that Blackmore liked to do in this period. You get Weisheim, you get Anybody There. Oh, I'm sorry, Anybody There is also on this record. So very good. The two sides almost mirror one another. Right? So you got Stranded, that's the opener. Not an incredible song, but kind of like a faster, harder song, right? Can't Let You Go, that's the one that everybody knows here. Fool for the Night, another nice melodic rocker. Then the Fire Dance, a little bit more moody, kind of not super fast rocker. And then Anybody There is the beautiful instrumental. Desperate Heart, another kind of sentimental one. Street of Dreams, that's the one that a lot of people know. And then Drinking with the Devil and Make It Move, with of course Snowman being the instrumental. And then let me just show you this guy, Final Vinyl. This was the final record by Rainbow for a long period, and this is a very cool compilation. I really love it. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's only a double album. So it's a very cool compilation in that it's not all live and it's not all studio. It has some outtakes, B-sides, things that were not released on official albums. Which one is that? Jealous Lover. And I think they have another one, Weisheim, and Bad Girl. So pretty cool. All from the, not all, I'm sorry. Two from the Graham Burnett time, and then Bad Girl is from a leftover from Down to Earth. And then a lot of live recordings, mostly with Turner. So side one is Spot Like It Surrender and Miss Mistreated with Jolene Turner, and then more live recordings. Can't Happen Here, Tearing Out My Heart, and Since You've Been Gone. It's also a live one, just from a different concert. Another a live version of Difficult to Cure, so Beethoven's Ninth. That's pretty cool that they did that live. And then Stone Cold and Power, and Man on the Silver Mountain with Dio, with Long Live in Rock and Roll, also with Dio, but from the later era. So this is way after Live on Stage and Weisheim Studio. So cool, cool compilation. And there is a very cool picture here. I'll show you. You see who that is? That's Ronnie Cozy and Martin Birch in the studio. Now all three of them are in heaven or hell, who knows. But I just hope for them that they're together. Three cool guys who got along well and were just nice guys to be around. So wherever their resting place is, wherever they are now, I hope they enjoy it. And so this closes the chapter on Rainbow, at least temporarily, but for the time being, Bent Out of Shape is the last release, and everything that was on this one on final vinyl has been done up until 1984. So now let's go back to Whitesnake. Yeah, let's do Whitesnake. I don't even know why I didn't bring Whitesnake all the way up to 84, but this one actually, I think it came out before Come and Get It, and this is a live album that I am not a huge fan of. The musicians play well. The sound is more than acceptable for the time, but in my opinion, this just doesn't deliver that excitement and that punch that you would normally expect from a live record. Marie, of course, with Paice are doing a great job, as are Marsden and Moody. The song selection, okay, pretty much what you would expect. Oh yeah, it came out of before Come and Get It, so of course there's no Don't Break My Heart Again. Great version of Mistreated. They do Trouble, kind of a reprise. They retake Trouble, but Ain't Gonna Cry No More. I could have done without you. Walking in the Shadow of the Blues. It's great, but they have way better live recording than that. Sweet Talker, I think I just mentioned that I could have done without. Come On also. So they have a better repertoire. They could have done Medicine Man. They could have done a couple other selections. Okay, there is Fool for Your Loving. There's no Blind Man. There is Ready and Willing. So it's an okay record. If you're a big Whitesnake fan like myself, then it's good to have. Otherwise, not at all the greatest record. And then comes this bad boy, Saints and Sinners. Also not the most revered or acclaimed Whitesnake record. I like it, but this is the one that signifies Whitesnake, let's just say left turn on a red light, if you will. Well, some people believe so. I don't really mind that much, but this is where they take a step away from bluesiness and more toward mainstream or maybe even Americanized rock. The record itself is definitely not Americanized rock, but it starts to go away from their bluesy roots and going in that direction. Of course, Marie and Paice are banging it out. Just a very, very solid record on one hand, but on the other hand, it doesn't have those in-your-face punch, great hit songs like Love Hunter and Medicine Man and Fool for Your Loving and Don't Break My Heart Again. Best song of the record, in my opinion, is Dancing Girls, like this real hard driving, heavy riffy. Everything is much more, much heavier and faster on this record. Love and Affection is a great one. Rough and Ready, Young Blood, Bloody Luxury, all three of them. But it's a little bit repetitive. Like I said, not those big in-your-face hits, and of course we know Crying in the Rain and Here I Go Again, which would eventually become big hits in the relatively distant future, not really that distant. And that one is also the last one with Paice. So on this one, this is the last record with members of the original or the classic so-called Whitesnake. This is, of course, the record that famously was partially erased and redone, re-released in the US. This one is actually a French pressing, but I do have the US version also. So this one has these members out there. Marie is gone here. Yeah, so Marie is gone from here and Paice is gone. Paice went to work with Gary Moore this time, and he has fond memories from there. And there's some insane live recordings for those of who those of you who are willing to look for bootlegs, and everything's available today on the internet. So Lord is the last remaining original Deep Purple member on this one. You got Mel Galley, new recruit. You got Colin Hodkinson on the bass, new recruit. Mickey Moody stays, and Marsden is unfortunately gone. And Cozy Powell replaces Paice on the drums. And on the American version, they brought back Marie, and they got John Sykes. So no Marsden on any of these. A lot of people love it. I don't know what to make of this record. I do love it, but I also have some reservations. But all in all, it's a great record, but it's definitely not the good old Whitesnake that we all know and love. So way bigger change in direction than Saints and Sinners compared to its predecessors. So this is the big step towards 1987. So in that context, it sort of makes sense. Some great songs here, some songs that would really benefit from a 1987 kind of production, if you will, or playing. And definitely on the American version, you can hear it a little bit. It's like some people make like a huge deal that the American version is totally different. It's not all that different. You can play them side by side, and they made it similar enough that the differences are not that earth-shattering. The mixing is a little bit different, little sound, a couple solos that Sykes redid. But all in all, I'm going to read you the order that it is here, and the other one has a slightly different order. But Gambler, I love it. Slide It In, I'm not a huge fan of that song. Standing in the Shadow, I love. Great song there. Give Me More Time, a good. Love Ain't No Stranger, great song. Slow and Easy, not my favorite. Spit It Out, neither. All or Nothing is okay, a better song. Hungry for Love is good. And Guilty of Love, I'm a big fan. So on side 2 is a little bit weaker for me, at least on that release, on this iteration, of this version of Slide It In. And let's stop it here with Whitesnake. So what else do I owe you guys? Elf, right. Elf, I misspoke when I mentioned Dio at the beginning of Rainbow. So Dio was in Elf, and he did release 3 albums. The first one was self-titled Elf. Interesting little detail, Elf, the first Elf record, the self-titled Elf, had Dio under his own real last name, Padovana. So he doesn't call himself Ronnie James Dio, but it's Ronnie, I think Ronald Padovana. Just like that. Then the second one, I said it's called LA 59. It's not. It's called the Carolina Country Ball. I used to have that record. Not the strongest record. It's okay, like American rock and roll. And the third one, Trying to Burn the Sun. That's the kind of the best, the most rockiest. But you can understand why Richie went away from that lineup. He brought some incredible musicians. I also forgot to mention, where I should have, the follow-up to the concerto, Deep Purple's concerto with for band and orchestra. Great record, and the record company pressured John Lord to write a follow-up, which he did end up recording, but I think the only other Deep Purple member on it was Glover, if at all. I forgot to look that up, but I don't remember. So that's not it's not truly a Deep Purple record. It didn't come out under the Deep Purple name. And as you can imagine, a follow-up to such a masterpiece is going to fall short. But in my opinion, it does exceed expectation, because you would expect it to fall on its face or to be a repetition, and it's not. It's pretty original. It's pretty cool. And it doesn't mimic and replicate the first one. Of course, it's a similar concept, but I think it's a good follow-up. But it would have been way better with the members of Deep Purple, which they did do a new live recording in the early 90s, which is way better. So if you must have one, that is the one to go with. And I also forgot to mention Gillan, just like this in passing, and that's mostly because I am not all that familiar with the material, but I will at least mention the records. And I did have a couple. I think I had two Gillan records, and I'm soon gonna remember which one it was. So when Gillan left, he started with the Ian Gillan band, and he had a record, Child in Time, which I remember very little. I never had that one. I wasn't all of that into his stuff, and not even the later stuff. And then the second record released in '77 was Clear Air Turbulence. I'm sorry. And then the last record under that exact band name was Carabas. And then he releases a live album, Live at the Budokan. There's very little I can tell you about these records, just that they exist and they're fairly listenable. But as you can imagine, I didn't really lose my mind over them. And of course, I didn't have many of them. Then he changes the band name to Gillan and releases it the next year, '78. Mr. Universe, I think I had that record, but I couldn't swear on it when I was a kid. Again, pretty solid lineup there. I think that he's got Bernie Tormé and John McCoy. I made a mistake before. I mentioned John McCoy, and I think in my memory he was the guitar player. But Tormé and McCoy stayed in that lineup for quite a while, and that was a good combination. So McCoy is the bass player, Tormé is of course the guitar player, and they had Mick Underwood on the drums for most of the time. Then he releases Gillan, which I don't remember whether I had it or not. I'm pretty sure I had two records. It might have been Mr. Universe and then another one, which is Future Shock. I definitely did have Future Shock. Not my favorite, to the extent that I can't even remember one song or any music off of the record. But this is not to put it down. It's just me. I didn't listen to it in probably 20-30 years. So I guess I should have done it, at least for the sake of the video. And then he releases Double Trouble. That already brings us to '82. So this is the time of Saints and Sinners and Straight Between the Eyes. This is what they were all doing. And '82 is also the year that Ronnie leaves Black Sabbath. So by the time that Live Evil is released, Ronnie is gone. Of course, Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules I've covered elsewhere. And the last record is Magic. The last Gillan record is called Magic, which is 1982. Did I say Double Trouble is 1982? No, that's a mistake. That's 1981. And then 1982 is Trouble, and that's also one that I don't remember. And maybe I think I'm not gonna go over all of the releases of the Deep Purple live records, but there's so many of them. There's I think the only official release with the Deep Purple with Bone in his last concert in Japan. Not a bad recording. There's Live in London, which is with Blackmore and Hughes and Coverdale, and of course there's Live in Europe. There's tons and tons of live recordings. So now that we're getting to kind of the early mid 80s, we're up to 82, 84 with Whitesnake, 84 with Rainbow. Of course, Final Vinyl has everything they did in 84. 83 was the last album. We did Gillan, and of course after Gillan, Ian Gillan goes to join Black Sabbath, kind of a earth-shattering news, and of course we covered Born Again on the Black Sabbath video. A kind of a very weird and unusual record, but not bad at all. I'm not gonna say it's a great, well, it is a great record in some aspect. There's some great songs. The sound to this day is weird, but not necessarily in a bad way. Kind of like a proto super fuzzy thrash metal kind of feel to it. And anyone who heard about it would say, Gillan and Black Sabbath, how does it even go together? And he did a fine job on it. So he didn't try to be Ozzy and he didn't try to be Dio. He was himself, and he adapted himself very well to the music of Black Sabbath. And the live recordings from the time, where some of them were amazing, even though it was a short-lived period. And like I mentioned before, Dio leaves Black Sabbath and goes on to establish Dio, as we know, and in '83 releases not Rainbow in the Dark, I'm sorry, Holy Diver. And of course he takes Vinny with him from Black Sabbath, and Jimmy Bain from Rainbow, who we knew, and with a new young, then unknown guitar player, very, very young, I think it was something like 20 years old, or maybe even less, Vivian Campbell, who later on ended in Def Leppard. But just that record is just magic, is phenomenal. So what was going on in those times, if you think about it, right? You think about Rainbow, Bent Out of Shape, you think about Whitesnake, Saints and Sinner, which was not a very famous Whitesnake record. You had Rainbow, Bent Out of Shape, I just mentioned. You had that Whitesnake, Saints and Sinners, and then later on Slide It In, and you had Gillan with Black Sabbath. So definitely in '83, the big shining diamond, if you will, that was Dio liked that phrase, shining diamonds. He mentioned it quite a couple of times. So that was the Dio's debut album. Was probably one of the highlights of '83 from the extended Deep Purple family. And you had Paice Ashton Lord, which also released a decent record. I think I mentioned it, Malice in Wonderland. And I think now we've brought everything up to date to 1984. And of course, what happened in 1984 and after will be the subject of the next video. So I will keep you in suspense, because none of you will ever be able to guess what just happened in 1984. So I know that it will gonna be very difficult for you to try to figure out what really happened, but I am not able to contain it. So I'll let you know that, of course, Deep Purple out of the blue reunited, right? We had this, we had Blackmore with Glover teaming up already, and then Lord and Paice, who stayed together for most of the time, Gillan going to Black Sabbath, and then behind the scenes somehow something happens and these guys are convinced to reunite, and the result is this amazing, insane, incredible record. But like I told you, I have to go now. This is getting quite long for this time, so I'll cut it, and this will be Deep Purple and Extended Family up to the reunion. And okay, so these two were released post-reunion, obviously, but the material is almost exclusively not only pre-reunion, but in many cases pre-Deep Purple. And I'm talking about Ritchie Blackmore Volume 1 and Volume 2. I was so happy when I found these records, because I was an absolutely insane Blackmore fan, and probably still am. And there is a timeline, and there are little snippets about the different acts and different kind of boys bands that he was. As I mentioned before, Joe Meek and Screaming Lord Sutch, the Musketeers, all kinds of obscure stuff that you don't have to go and hunt down for yourself. Well, today everything is available on the internet, but it's very well made. So I really love this compilation, all kinds of things that you wouldn't even think that that Blackmore played on. Glenda Collins, The Outlaws, of course, that was one of his first bands, or maybe his first band, Heinz, Boz. There is some Deep Purple, Playground. I don't even remember if it's a released song. I think it's not been released on an official Deep Purple release. There are some snippets from interviews, so pretty well made. Oh, and what I forgot in the beginning, when I got stumped with the Book of Taliesin, I found out that the American pressing has a different name for Ringlet Neck. So I guess that's why I never never paid attention, because I was just playing it. But the track itself is not missing from the record. It's just called differently. I forgot even a Hard Road or something like that. So interesting that I never paid attention that on the American pressing there is a different name. And there you go, Volume 2 of the same series. They have kind of like a funny message here. If your record dealer doesn't have this record, just knock him over the head and send us a letter. Again, pre-internet day. This was, I think the first one was released in '89 and the second one in '90. But the newest, the latest material that you'll find in here is from the Perfect Strangers sessions, and that's one that I will pick up next time, and it is called why can't I find it all of a sudden? I should have even remembered it by heart, but it's that's interesting, and it's gonna be on the first one. And Son of Alaric, that's the one, Son of Alaric, and I think it's on Volume 1. Living Wreck, Guitar Job, and other unreleased from Deep Purple. No, Highway Star, A200, weird selection to put. Why can't I find Son of Alaric? Some very early guitar, some very early Richie Blackmore, from Richie Blackmore Orchestra. 2 songs from there that were released on singles. And okay, it's hidden in the middle of all the Rainbow songs. So yeah, Son of Alaric. So that is the latest recording from this Volume 2 of the Richie Blackmore anthology. But I will come back to these next time. So the next video, when I finally get to it, we will start from the reunion on and do the same thing, continue everybody's projects and history around that time. And it's a little bit less interesting, maybe, or less exciting. It comes in a more mature world, but in the meantime, that's what it is. So that's Deep Purple from the late 60s, 67, 68, up until 1984 or so. And in the meantime, rock on.